How's it going, guys? SheezyCats here, coming at you with another Band League deck profile, and today we're going to be looking at Hello Happy World. I've got Afterglow and Pastel Palettes as well right around the corner, so expect those within the next few days. Now without further ado, let's get right into the Hello Happy World deck profile. So, for those of you who just want a net deck, here's the full list. The ratios for this deck are 20 level 0s, 11 level 1s, 2 level 2s, and 9 level 3s. As a mono Hello Happy World deck, this deck is obviously all yellow, and since trigger count is important for this deck, we are running 21 triggers. Now, I'm sure some of you have noticed some very interesting choices in this deck, and they're probably wondering, what the heck are those? And I'll get to that, because those are actually an important part of the deck. First, let's go over the deck's overall strategy and game flow. In the level 0 game, this deck typically wants to take it a bit slower. Usually you want to let the opponent hit you to level 1 first so that you can pull off your Fever combo very easily by reversing your opponent's level 0 board. From there, this deck typically wants to try and hold control of the board throughout the level 1 game, using cards with pretty high base power and supplementing it with counters. The endgame in this deck is very low resource, so this deck can use stock fairly liberally for things like your Kanon Fever combo or Brainstorming to keep yourself in a safe spot. At level 0, our ideal turn 1 play is 0-0 Kokoro. She's base 2500 power and gains 1500 if you have 2 or less stock. As you start to level up, this is the number 1 card you will want to be throwing into your level zone. We also have 2 copies of the 0-0 Hagami, who is a stock suicider, and can also send herself to stock when your opponent plays a climax. This can be convenient against matchups where your opponent's climax combos are on reverse in order to avoid those abilities while simultaneously gaining clean stock. The brainstorm of this deck is this 0-0 Michelle. She's a rest 2 brainstorm that allows you to salvage 1 per climax hit. In addition, she has a climax combo with the wind climax that goes with Hagami, allowing you to give a character 1k power and twin drive until the end of the turn. This can incidentally be useful throughout the game in order to get over your opponent's threats with the 1k power, or pay out climaxes on the fly using the twin drive, but is mainly used to help Hagumi hit her burn by increasing the number of chances she has to trigger a soul trigger. 4 Kaorus is pretty much staple, allowing you to control your deck state while simultaneously serving as free hand filter. She also fills up your waiting room with targets for your Kanon combo or Michelle Brainstorm. 2 Kokoro Drop Searchers serve as additional stock or ditch outlet and let you secure key cards throughout the game. The additional soul she gains for being in the center slot is also quite nice. 2 Hagami Jinsus let us search our climaxes from the deck. Since this deck only runs 3 copies of the Wind Climax for our Hagami level 3, it's a bit more important that we have access to this Hagami in case one of them gets sent to stock. Now onto one of my favorite cards in this entire deck, which is the 0-0 Kanon. This card has 2 abilities. On play, reveal the top card of your deck, and if that card is a music character, you may pay 1 in order to search your deck for the 1-1 Vanilla Hagami. Her other effect is an act ability. If you're at level 1 or higher, you can send her to stock to summon up to 1 copy of the Hagami Vanilla from your hand for free. This essentially equates to playing a 1-0-7k, since you paid 1 stock to get Hagami from the deck, and by sending Kanon to stock for the cost, you get that stock back. However, you can also use this ability to pay a climax out of stock and simultaneously replace it with a clean stock. Additionally, by searching the 1-1 Hagami from the deck, you're thinning the deck by 1 card. Another thing to note is that the Kanon does not need to search the Hagami from the deck. You can simply use her for her top check ability, such as to confirm whether or not the top card of the deck is a trigger for your 3-2 Hagami to proc her burn, or to see if the top card is a climax or not in case you want to brainstorm. It's also not mandatory to summon the 1-1 Hagami from your hand, so you can simply pay Kanon's cost by sending herself to stock, and essentially letting you convert 1 hand into 1 stock. Another thing you can do with this Kanon is to use her as part of your brainstorm cost, and then send her to stock afterwards. This frees up a back row slot for something else you might want to play, like a level support. For the ratios, I used 4 Kanons and 3 Hagami. I was originally testing 2 Hagami, but decided to up the count to 3 since having the option to search it from the deck with the Kanon is quite valuable. The level 1 combo of this deck is the 1-0 Kanon. She sits at 5500 base if you have 2 or more other music characters, and has a Fever combo like Cosme 1-0. If you meet the Fever condition at Encore Step and you have the Shot Climax in the Climax area, you can pay 1 to salvage 2. and then she gains 1k power until the end of the opponent's next turn, making herself 6500. Having a front row of 1 or 2 of these Kanon combos and filling the rest with Hagami vanillas makes your board 6500s and 7ks, which can be pretty hard to break through for certain decks. If you salvage Karu counter using the Fever effect, you can bolster your defensive numbers even higher. Karu is a 1/1 2k counter, and upon using her backup ability, you get to blind stock 1 if your entire board is yellow characters. This essentially makes her a 1/0 2k backup, but with potential added benefits. For example, you can use the stock cost to pay out a climax and hopefully replace it with a clean card. Additionally, this Karu has a soul trigger for your Hagami level 3. I run 2 Kokoro Twin Drives in this deck. Typically, since you want to be winning the board defensively as well as offensively in this deck, Kokoro is more of a secondary choice compared to the Hagami vanilla because of her low 3500 power on defense, compared to the Hagami vanilla being 7k always. The Twin Drive can be used to pay out climaxes or characters with triggers, since you want as many of those in the deck for Hagami level 3. It can also be useful for just running through your deck if you're all out of climaxes and need to get to refresh ASAP, or you can use it to try to trigger extra climaxes if you want to try to push damage. You can also try to trigger win climaxes if you're against matchups such as Standby to try to bounce their big 2/2s and 3/2s back to their hand and make them waste stock playing them back onto the board. I run 2 level 2s in this deck. The first one is a Karu, Anti-Change Stock Suicider. She has a Climax combo as well, but we don't run it in this deck. And the other level 2 is this 2/1 Kanon, and she has 3 abilities. Firstly, she's a level assist. When I play a Climax, I get to give a character 1k until end of turn, and she has an act ability. I can rest her to check the top card of my deck and either place it on top or bottom of my deck, which is helpful for 3/2 Hagami to get her burn successfully. She has Rest Self for the cost on her Scry, which conflicts with the Michelle Brainstorm, which is Rest 2, but as I mentioned earlier, you can use the 0/0 Kanon as part of the Rest cost for the Brainstorm, and then send her to stock, freeing up the back row slot for 2/1 Kanon to come into play and use her Scry ability. I also run 1 early play in this deck, which is the 3/2 Kokoro. She can be early summoned if you have 4 or more Hello Happy World characters, and on play, you can pay 1 to either salvage the Wind Climax or the 3/2 Michelle, and gain 1k until the end of the opponent's next turn. Sometimes you just need to get a Climax in order to push damage, and Kokoro allows you to grab that Climax on demand. We aren't able to use the Climax combo for this Wind Climax, but having the option to salvage it with this Kokoro is quite valuable, so I run 1 copy of it. The level 3 Michelle is basically just a vanilla healer, since I don't run the 3/2 Misaki that she can change into with the Climax combo. She's also a potential salvage target for the Kokoro 3/2 if you really need to grab a healer on demand. I run 3 copies of the Hagami Climax combo. In my yellow-blue boundary list with the Sayo one, I explained that I don't want to put more than 2 copies of this Hagami on the board for my finisher turn, since all of the Hagamis need to trigger soul triggers in order to use their burns. However, if one of the Hagamis successfully gets a trigger, it means that there's a lower chance for all of the subsequent copies to also get soul triggers. For that reason, I choose to only run 3 copies in the deck, just like in the yellow-blue build. Her on-play ability, draw 1, ditch 1, and then you can bounce one of your opponent's characters, is also quite valuable. You can use this with your Kokoro Musashis to open lanes so that your Kokoro swings bigger, or you can use it to bounce key characters such as 3/2 Chisato in the Pastel Palettes matchup, or cards that have been standbyed out in the Poppin' Party matchup. The last card in the deck is the 3 copies of the Kokoro Musashi. This is the supplementary finisher of the deck, and typically your endgame finisher board will be something like 2 Hagami plus 1 Kokoro, or 1 Hagami plus 2 Kokoro. Lastly, I want to offer some alternative options that you can try out in this deck. First, we have the 1/0 Kokoro Climax combo, which combos with the same Climax as Hagami and Michelle Brainstorm. You can run it instead of the Kanon 1/0, making this your main combo, or you can run it alongside Kanon to use as an alternative plussing combo in case your Kanon combo doesn't work out. In the latter case, I would consider taking out the 2 Kokoro Twin Drives for 2 of these. Another option you can try is the 0/0 Kanon Amagi. This gives you another source of mill and card advantage, and will give you more ways to convert stock into hand, if you end up having a surplus of stock. This card also makes a great pair with the Michelle Brainstorm in your back row, since she doesn't need to rest to use her ability, so you can safely use her to rest for the Brainstorm cost. The first cards that I would consider taking out if I wanted to put this Kanon in my deck are either the 0/0 Kokoro Beater, or the 0/0 Hagami Stock Suicider, sacrificing a little bit of early game for more consistency throughout the game. Thanks for watching my Hello Happy World deck profile. Be sure to let me know what you thought of this deck by leaving a comment below. I know this deck has some wacky choices, but it's so much fun to play, and being wacky and fun is exactly what Hello Happy World is all about. So, until next time, this has been Shizukats. Bye!